Welcome, Congresswoman. So I'm going to repeat what I said almost 2 hours ago, and that is, when you look at that drawing, that's a drawing that boys share amongst themselves, right? So that's a relationship. That's sort of, that's what that speaks to. And so as this thing begins to unfold even more, I think it's an important thread to keep pulling on, is that Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein, the pedophile, had a relationship.
Oh, yeah, they were boys.
They were boys.
Like, no question about it. I mean, he's the only one that's trying to kind of throw it out there and say, oh, no, it's a hoax, and no, this is Democrats, and no, well, he didn't say that he was a CI, but we had this confidential informant. The speaker told me something. No, he the one that, flipped on him. Well, how can you flip on somebody? Even though I know he's run that back. But literally, the fact that he even thought that he could, the only people that can ever flip on somebody are the people that are closest to them.
Right.
Period. Right? And so, like, this idea that he wasn't close to him is crazy, but I do think that it's going to be so important for us to really dig in, because what we are ascertaining is, number one, there were lots of modeling agencies that were doing things, and the modeling agency was basically a farce. And there's a lot of people that we want to talk to, and a lot of these models came from foreign countries. I'm just leave it there.
Anyone specific?
I'm going to leave it there, but I am trying to dig on a certain thread, for sure.
So that begs the question, and these new Epstein documents, is that part of your digging in and sort of unpacking a lot of that kind of information to sort of connect bigger dots to the dots
absolutely. So here's the thing. Like, obviously, this is concerning to have a potential pedophile as a president. That is concerning, right? But this is, like, even bigger than him. I want people to understand the information that we were given about foreign governments and their participation, the information we were given about our own federal government and how high of a level we're talking about as far as, like, them being in cahoots. We know that JP Morgan Chase ended up paying out a large settlement because they basically kind of looked the other way as there were these ridiculous wire transfers that were going by. We know that there were fake corporations that were set up. We know that, or at least we've been told that there were fake immigration documents that were put together so that women from other countries could end up over here. We know that there were allegedly fake marriages. This goes and it reeks through every single level of government. And it's one of those reasons that these survivors have been quiet for so long, right? Because literally they would walk in and they would see these pictures of Epstein with all of these powerful people from all over the world. And then he would threaten them and say, if you say anything, just know I know everybody, right? And so I think if we are going to prevent Epstein 2.0, or if Epstein 2.0 is taking place right now, I think it's important that we nip this in the bud right now and we learn what we did not know, and we put some safeguards in place to prevent this type of thing from happening.
Because you're coming to this not just as a member of Congress, you're coming to someone as someone who has actually prosecuted cases. You understand how to build a case. I wonder, given that we're talking about a series of documents, some of which have been released, some of which have not, but also people who can offer information like Alex Acosta, who can tell us what went into the decision behind that sweetheart deal. As you begin to build a case, do you see the most value in the documents, or do you see the value in sort of these people who can give you firsthand testimony about what it is that happened and what it is you should be looking for?
I think that to start the case, it's the documents for me, right? Because, I tell people all the time, I bring receipts, right? Like, they are irrefutable. So when we start to talk about things such as it's about following the money. This is a big money situation. So, like, how are you going to refute this, right? Like,
transactions are transactions.
Exactly.
They're recorded,
Exactly. And so, like, to make it to where this is not political, to make it to where it's literally just getting down to the nitty gritty, for me, it starts with the documents. Remember, the president has said, oh, this is a Democratic hoax. And then we know that we heard from at least one survivor saying, listen, I voted for you. Like, I trusted that you really wanted to get to the bottom of this, which, honestly, if you're not involved, then, like, why would you then kind of want to sweep this under the rug? So for me, to get it kind of out of the political realm, I would actually want to start with the actual documents, such as the birthday book. It is what it is. Like, bro, you said there was no note to your homeboy, and we've got it, and it's kind of icky, as well as, like, who wrote that? Like, seriously. It's like second grade level.
What did you all discuss in the meeting today? Like, where do you go from here?
So we talked about, like, our upcoming hearings. We have a big markup on D.C. So we've got to deal with all the bills that are about to come through and come up with our strategy on that as well. But basically, we were kind of getting a rundown of, like, what's happening next. Like, we've been able to get some of these documents. One of the ones that was not shared by y'all, maybe y'all shared it earlier today, it's also kind of this picture, and it talked about the $22,000. And it basically says something to the effect of buying, it alluded to buying someone who had basically run their course. Like
a person.
A person,
Yeah.
a woman.
We have not yet shared that image with our audience. I'm curious, given that you have staffers going to New York to sit down with the Epstein estate on Wednesday, what is it you want them looking for in those documents?
So for them, what we expect committee staff to do is to make sure that the things that they did redact, because all we're getting is redacted documentation. And frankly, I don't think that the DOJ has actually been very forthcoming with a lot of the documents that they've given us. Obviously, we know that the early documents they gave us are basically things that we already had, but then they literally were sending us pages and everything black. I'm like, so the and A and you, that's gotta be like redacted? Like, so this is just to make sure that these are good faith redactions, unlike what I feel like we're getting out of the DOJ. So, like, they then will explain, like, the one thing that I was just talking about, it's a picture, right? And so it's got different faces redacted, so we don't know who those people are. So now it'll be an explanation as to why is their face redacted, what are we hiding, and that kind of stuff. So at least the staff will see everything without anything kind of being blacked out.
So I want to go back to the point that you made about that Alicia raised, persons that you want to talk to versus the documents.
Yeah.
And I definitely appreciate the lawyer and you saying, okay, I want to see the receipts.
Yeah.
But then there is the conversation with the people. Do you trust the conversation you will have with Mr. Acosta? Do you expect him to be truthful?
Do I expect him to be? I don't.
Okay.
Am I hopeful that he will be? I am. I plan to be in the room. That is going to take place next Friday. And I plan to be in the room because any skilled litigator understands how to make sure you can set a trap. So I expect him to do his best to be truthful, because there are ways to ask questions that basically he may see it like there's no way they can get me on this. But it's a simple trap, and it's a way that we will be able to get it. So I'd suggest that he tread very carefully and understand that truthfulness is paramount. But he is giving a deposition. So I thought it was a transcribed interview.
Right.
But a deposition means that there is the threat of perjury
Because there's an oath taken at the beginning of that deposition.
Correct.
Right. So you do that next Friday. You sit in the room. How soon is it that you can begin to disseminate whatever information it is you gather in that deposition?
So technically, our behind closed doors depots and transcribed interviews were not supposed to go out and talk about. Comer has a problem with keeping his mouth shut. So it's a matter of if Comer opens the door, then the door is open, right? So we just wait on him to go and open the door, which he typically does. But depending on what comes out, he may not. So the rules prevent us, though, unless and until there is an agreement that we release the full kind of transcribed interview or the full deposition, because people like to cherry pick. Right? And so the fullness really matters.
Will you seek to, will House Oversight Democrats seek to get that deposition, particularly from Acosta release, given that it's paramount of importance to the survivors and to folks like us sitting at this table?
Yeah, I think the ranking member will get with the rest of leadership and will kind of give a readout on what took place, and then kind of figure out which way to go from there.
All right, giving us the details, Representative Jasmine Crockett, thank you for being here today.
And when you do release and want to talk about it, we got to...
Yeah, we have a nice seat for you, so you come on back now.
So we look right there, we talk to America and tell them.
At the top of the hour.